Welcome back to F1 Report, everyone. It's race week once again, and we have a brand new track to enjoy. We're in Portugal at the brand new Portimao track for round 12 of the 2020 season. This year has been such a mess, but one of the good things it has delivered for us is new and interesting locations for us to race at, and of course some returning favourites as well. Portimao fits into the new category, having only been constructed in 2008. Is set in the beautiful Algarve region of Portugal. It has actually featured F1 action once before, the 2008-2009 season, when it was used for winter testing. Of course, only Vettel, Hamilton and Raikkonen are still around from those days, but many of the drivers are raced here in junior formula, so there's plenty of experience to go around. It may be our first race at Portimao, but it's not our first time racing in Portugal. A Portuguese race actually debuted all the way back in 1951 and continued with only a few short breaks up until 1966. It took a 17-year-long break before returning in Estoril in 1984 and running all the way up until 1966. Of course, the race results from those days absolutely have no bearing on this year's race at all, but it is fun to note that Williams have won 5 of the last 6 Portuguese Grand Prix. Now that would be an upset if we saw that again this weekend. Back to Portimao, the track itself, much like Mugello, shares the hilly terrain of the region that it is set in. This gives the track natural elevation changes and an undulating nature, creating some stunning visuals for us and a roller coaster-like effect for the drivers. The track is 4.5 kilometers long, and the race will be run for 66 laps. There's only one DRS zone at the track, running down the start-finish straight, coming out of the final turn 15 and all the way down to turn 1. The weather for this weekend is dry and warm, around 20 degrees centigrade for Friday and Saturday running, and there is a small chance of showers on Sunday. And honestly, with how the weather treated us at the Nürburgring, I think we're owed some wet weather racing, driving gods. As I always say, take that with a pinch of salt. Weather can make fools of us all, as it did in Germany. On to tyres, and Pirelli have chosen the 3 hardest compound tyres in their range, the C1, C2 and C3 tyres, to match the demands of the circuit. Let's move on to the race results from last time out to give ourselves a refresh on how things went. Our winner last time out was Lewis Hamilton, who matched Michael Schumacher's win record by doing so. In second we have Verstappen. In third, we had Ricciardo, who scored Renault's first podium since their return to the sport as a constructor. In fourth, we had Perez. Fifth was Sainz. Sixth, Gasly. And in seventh, we had Leclerc. In eighth, we had Hülkenberg, putting up an amazing performance once again. In ninth was Grosjean, putting in his best result of the season. And rounding out the top 10 was Giovinazzi. In 11th, we had Vettel, followed by Raikkonen in 12th. 13th was Magnussen, Latifi 14th, and finally we had Kvyat in 15th. Our DNFs last time out were Albon, Ocon, Russell, Norris and Bottas. Lots of engine trouble in the field, so maybe that was to do with the lack of Friday running? I guess we'll see this time out. So how did that result shape the Drivers' Championship? Let's take a look. In first, it's our runaway leader Hamilton with 230 points. In second, and losing out in a big way with his DNF, is Bottas on 161 points. In third, Verstappen on 147 points. Springing up the order to fourth, it's Ricciardo on 78 points. That third place really did do him well. Likewise for Perez, with his fourth place in the race, he now jumps up to fifth in the championship with 68 points. Dropping down to sixth is Norris, staying on 65 points after his DNF. It's a similar story with Albon in 7th, still on 64 points. Leclerc actually closes that gap in 8th with 63 points. Stroll, who was absent last time out, is in 9th with 57 points. And Gasly completes the top 10 with 53 points. That 4th place is all to play for, and it's such an exciting midfield battle. The Constructors' Championship is almost sewed up, with Mercedes on top with 391 points. Red Bull are trailing in second with 211 points. In third, it's all to play for. Currently we have Racing Point with 120 points. Taking over from McLaren, who dropped down to 4th on 116 points. Renault took a big leap up to 114 points in 5th. It's so close, any one of those teams could snag that 3rd place. A little further back in 6th is Ferrari on 80 points. AlphaTauri are in 7th on 67 points. Then we have Alfa Romeo in 8th on 5 points and Haas in 9th on 3 points. Both of those teams adding valuable points last time out. And finally, we have Williams on 0 points. So now let's take a look at the news coming into the race and what we might see the media ask the drivers and teams this weekend. We had an update on Lance Stroll. He is now fit and ready to race after sitting out the last one. However, he has confirmed that it was actually COVID which kept him racing at the Eiffel Grand Prix. It's great news that he's recovered and that he's only missed one race, so that's very positive. The interesting point here is that Racing Point had told the press that weekend it wasn't COVID related and didn't test him at the track. So, bit of a communication issue there. Stroll says he isolated right away, so it was his quick action which saved exposure to the rest of the grid, so fair play to him. But Racing Point should really have a look at their protocol. Glad it's all straightened out now and everybody is well. Odd that the only 2 drivers to get COVID so far are in the Racing Points. Although, if you're a fan of Nico Hulkenberg, you probably don't mind that so much. We also had a round of rumours this week about driver moves, including a very curious one with Sergio Perez potentially replacing George Russell at Williams. Strange one. Callum Ilott is also rumoured to be coming up from F2 into a Haas seat, and Mick Schumacher making a similar move in the Alfa Romeo. I don't tend to like commenting too much on rumours, but there's a good chance these questions may come up in the press conferences, so figured it was worthwhile passing on. One final bit of news, it's a pretty obvious one, is that if Lewis Hamilton wins this race, he will become the out-and-out all-time leader in Grand Prix wins, surpassing Schumacher's record of 91. So, fingers crossed for Lewis Hamilton fans. I think it's pretty inevitable personally that he will get that record, but it's just a matter of where and when. That's your news, so that only leaves us with driver and team to watch. The jinx has been broken, so that gives me the confidence once again. I'm assuming it'll be a dry race, and knowing that, I'll be picking Ricciardo as my driver to watch. He's really charging in that Renault right now, and he just secured his first podium for the team. I want to see if he can continue that rich reign of form. For the team to watch, I'm going to go with McLaren. They seem to have dropped to the back of this battle for 3rd place in recent times. However, their new aero upgrades really seemed to work last time out, so I'm interested to see how they can do if they manage to keep both cars running this time out. Are you guys excited to visit Portimao for the first time? Got any predictions you'd like to share? Let me know in the comments and I'll catch you in the next one.